Last year, a 74-year-old woman walked into my office holding a scan that showed 3 precancerous growths in her colon. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I thought I was doing everything right." She exercised, she ate salads, she took her vitamins, and her body was still building the foundation for cancer, because nobody had ever told her the one thing she was doing every single night that was quietly shutting down her immune system's ability to fight it. I'm going to tell you what I told her. But first, I need you to understand something that most people over 50 never hear from their doctors. There is a 2022 Harvard study, 116,000 adults, tracked for 28 years, and the conclusion should have been front-page news. 5 specific daily habits, done together, reduced overall cancer risk by up to 61% in adults over 50. Not a drug, not a surgery, not a clinical trial with a 12-month waitlist. Habits, things you can start tomorrow morning for free. I'm Dr. Edward Wright. I've spent 22 years in clinical practice studying how cancer develops at the cellular level, and more importantly, what stops it. And today I'm going to walk you through all 5 of those habits, ranked from foundational to the single most powerful thing you can do. But I need to warn you about something first. Number 1 on this list, the most important habit, is something that roughly 90% of adults over 60 are getting catastrophically wrong. And the research suggests that fixing it alone could cut your cancer risk nearly in half. I'll get to it. But the order here matters because each habit amplifies the next. Skip ahead and you'll miss why. Before we start, I want to ask you something. Drop your age in the comments below. And tell me this, has a doctor ever sat you down and talked to you about cancer prevention? Not screening, not detection, but actually preventing it? I read every comment. Your answers shape what I cover next. Let's begin with number 5. This one sounds too simple. That's exactly why people ignore it, and why it keeps showing up in the research as a baseline cancer prevention strategy. I'm talking about drinking 16 to 20 ounces of cold or room temperature filtered water the moment you wake up. Before coffee, before food, before your phone. Here's why this matters more after 50 than at any other age. After 55, your brain's thirst signaling starts to break down. There's a medical term for it, interceptive thirst sensitivity decline, but in plain language, your body stops telling you when you're dehydrated. A 2019 study from the University of Barcelona found that adults over 60 are chronically running at 8 to 12% below optimal cellular hydration without ever feeling thirsty. Now connect that to cancer. Your lymphatic system, the body's internal waste removal network, runs almost entirely on water. When you're dehydrated, it slows down. Damaged cells pile up. Inflammation builds. And chronic low-grade inflammation is now recognized as one of the primary triggers for cancer initiation, especially in the colon, bladder, and kidneys. The Harvard Nurses' Health Study found that women who drank more than 5 glasses of water daily had a 45% lower risk of colon cancer compared to those who drank 2 or fewer. For something that costs nothing, that number is staggering. There's another layer here. Hydration supports a process called autophagy, your cell's self-cleaning system. Think of it as a quality control inspector inside each cell, breaking down damaged parts before they can mutate. After 65, autophagy efficiency drops by roughly 30%. Proper hydration has been shown to partially restore it. How to do it? Keep a 20-ounce glass of filtered water on your nightstand. Feet hit the floor, drink the whole thing. Add fresh lemon if you want. The D-limonene in lemon peel has its own anti-tumor properties. And here's a tip. Pair your morning water with 10 minutes of light movement, even walking around the house. Movement stimulates lymphatic flow and compounds the cleansing effect by up to 40%, according to research from the Karolinska Institute. That's the foundation. But what you eat next could be even more powerful. Number 4. Daily fermented foods. This food has been eaten for thousands of years by the world's longest living populations. Western medicine dismissed it for decades. Now there are over 1,200 peer-reviewed studies on its cancer preventive effects. I'm talking about naturally fermented foods, plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso. In 2021, Stanford University published a landmark study in the journal Cell showing that adults who ate high fermented food diets had dramatically increased gut microbiome diversity and measurable decreases in 19 specific inflammatory proteins, several of which are directly linked to cancer progression. Why does this matter more after 50? Because after 60, your intestinal lining becomes more porous, a condition sometimes called leaky gut. This allows bacterial toxins called lipopolysaccharides into your bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation that acts like fertilizer for precancerous cells. I had a patient, Helen, 64 years old, who came to me with chronically elevated inflammatory markers and a family history of colorectal cancer. Her diet was decent overall, but she had 0 fermented foods. We added 2 servings daily, morning kefir, and a small side of sauerkraut at lunch. Within 90 days, her CRP levels, C-reactive protein, a key inflammation marker, dropped by 34%. Her gastroenterologist couldn't explain it. The mechanism works through short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, which is produced when gut bacteria ferment fiber. Butyrate signals precancerous colon cells to undergo apoptosis, programmed death. Think of butyrate as a security guard quietly removing troublemakers before any damage is done. Target: 1 to 2 servings of naturally fermented food per day. Not pasteurized, heat kills the live cultures. Look for live and active cultures on the label, and pair fermented foods with prebiotic-rich foods like garlic, leeks, or slightly underripe bananas. Prebiotics feed the beneficial bacteria the fermented foods introduce, compounding the effect dramatically. Number 4 is powerful, but number 3 is where the science gets extraordinary. And what I'm about to explain about how to do it is something almost nobody gets right. Number 3, metabolic walking. You've heard that walking is good for you. Fine. But there is a massive difference between a casual stroll and what researchers now call metabolic walking, and that difference could be the gap between feeding cancer and starving it. Here's the biology. Cancer cells have a metabolic weakness. Due to a quirk first described by biochemist Otto Warburg in 1931 and confirmed hundreds of times since, cancer cells are almost entirely dependent on glucose for energy. They're terrible at using oxygen, so when you sustain moderate intensity movement, heart rate elevated to 55 to 70% of your maximum, you do 2 things simultaneously. You deplete circulating glucose, cutting off cancer's preferred fuel, and you flood your tissues with oxygenated blood, creating an environment that's actively hostile to cancer cell survival. A 2020 meta-analysis from the American Cancer Society, 1.4 million adults, found that regular moderate physical activity was associated with a 42% reduction in colon cancer risk, 38% in breast cancer, and 27% in lung cancer, even in non-smokers. But after 65, something else becomes critical. Your mitochondria, the power generators inside every cell, decline in both number and efficiency by up to 35%. Mitochondrial dysfunction is now understood to be a key driver of both aging and cancer. Sustained moderate walking is one of the only proven interventions that stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis. It literally signals your body to build new, healthy mitochondria. Metabolic walking means 30 to 45 minutes of continuous walking at a pace where you can hold a conversation but would struggle to sing. At least 5 days per week. Ideally in the morning before your first full meal, fasted movement amplifies the glucose-depleting effect significantly. I want to tell you about Thomas, 69, a retired engineer who came to me after a cancer scare, a precancerous polyp found during a routine colonoscopy. He wasn't exercising at all. We started him on 35 minutes of morning walking, 5 days a week, combined with dietary changes. At his 2-year follow-up colonoscopy, completely clean. His oncologist called the improvement in his inflammatory markers exceptional. And here's a tip. Pair your morning walk with your morning hydration from Habit 5. Walk somewhere with natural light. Morning sunlight regulates your circadian rhythm, which governs immune surveillance, your body's built-in cancer detection system. The combination is far more powerful than either alone. Number 3 is remarkable, but the next 2 habits are where things get genuinely revolutionary. Number 2, EGCG from green tea. This is a compound that has been hiding in plain sight for centuries, consumed daily across Japan, China, and other populations with some of the lowest cancer rates on Earth. And the sheer volume of research behind it is unlike almost anything else in nutritional science. I'm talking about EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, the most potent bioactive compound in green tea. There are now over 10,000 peer-reviewed studies on EGCG and cancer. That number alone should tell you something. Here's why this matters so profoundly after 50. In 2018, researchers at the Mayo Clinic published findings showing that EGCG disrupts cancer at multiple stages simultaneously. It inhibits an enzyme called DNA methyltransferase, which cancer cells hijack to silence your tumor suppressor genes, the genes whose entire job is to prevent uncontrolled cell growth. Think of tumor suppressor genes as the brakes on a car. Cancer disables the brakes. EGCG re-engages them. But it doesn't stop there. EGCG also blocks a signaling pathway called NF-κB, one of the most critical inflammatory switches in the human body. When NF-κB is chronically activated, it drives tumor growth, metastasis, and resistance to treatment. EGCG effectively turns that switch off. And here's the aging-specific crisis. After 50, your body's methylation patterns, the chemical tags that control which genes are active, become increasingly disordered. Tumor suppressor genes get silenced more frequently. Your cellular defense system starts going dark, one gene at a time. EGCG has been shown to reverse this epigenetic silencing in multiple cancer types. A large-scale Japanese cohort study, over 40,000 adults followed for 11 years, found that women who drank 5 or more cups of green tea daily had a 42% lower risk of developing stomach cancer and significant reductions in colorectal and breast cancer incidence. A separate meta-analysis published in the International Journal of Cancer found consistent dose-dependent reductions in prostate cancer risk among regular green tea consumers. Perhaps most remarkably, research from the University of Mississippi Medical Center found that EGCG targets cancer stem cells, the most dangerous cells in any tumor, the ones that survive chemotherapy and drive recurrence. Standard treatments kill the soldiers. EGCG goes after the generals. I had a patient, David, 66 years old, with a strong family history of prostate cancer. His PSA levels were creeping upward year after year. We incorporated 3 to 4 cups of high-quality green tea daily, brewed properly, alongside his other lifestyle changes. Over 14 months, his PSA trend reversed. His urologist said it was the first time in years the numbers had moved in the right direction. How to do it right? Brew loose-leaf or high-quality bagged green tea. Matcha is the most concentrated source, in water just below boiling, around 175 degrees F. Steep for 3 to 5 minutes. This maximizes EGCG extraction without destroying it. Avoid adding milk. Casein proteins in dairy bind to EGCG and dramatically reduce its bioavailability. Target 3 to 5 cups daily, spread throughout the day. If you can't drink that much tea, matcha powder delivers roughly 3 times more EGCG per serving. And here's something important. Add a squeeze of lemon or a small amount of vitamin C to your tea. Research from Purdue University found that citrus juice increases EGCG bioavailability by up to 500% by stabilizing the compound in the gut before absorption. Without it, most EGCG breaks down before your body can use it. That's number 2, and it's powerful. But what I'm about to tell you for number 1, this is what the entire list has been building toward. This is the habit that controls everything else. And if you're getting it wrong, nothing else on this list will work at full capacity. Number 1, sleep. But not just sleep. I'm talking about the specific quality, timing, and depth of sleep that activates your body's most powerful anti-cancer system. And the data on what happens when this system breaks down is, frankly, terrifying. Here's the mechanism. During deep slow-wave sleep, stages 3 and 4, your brain activates the glymphatic system, a waste clearance network first described by researchers at the University of Rochester in 2013. It uses cerebrospinal fluid to flush toxic proteins and cellular debris from your brain and nervous system. Think of it as a power wash that only runs when the factory shuts down for the night. But the cancer connection goes far beyond the brain. During the same deep sleep phases, your body produces its peak concentrations of melatonin, not just a sleep hormone, but one of the most powerful endogenous antioxidants known to science. A 2021 review in Cancer Research found that melatonin directly blocks tumor angiogenesis. It prevents cancers from building the blood vessels they need to grow. It also stimulates natural killer cells, the frontline immune soldiers whose specific job is to identify and destroy cancer cells before they establish themselves. Here's the devastating aging reality. Melatonin production declines by up to 70% between the ages of 40 and 70. By 65, most people produce almost negligible amounts during sleep. Your most powerful internal anti-cancer mechanism is running on fumes. A 2019 study from the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified chronic sleep disruption, specifically night shift work, as a probable human carcinogen. Not a risk factor, a carcinogen. Same category as certain pesticides and industrial chemicals. That's how serious this is. Remember the woman I mentioned at the beginning? Her name is Patricia, 74 years old. She was sleeping barely 5 hours a night and waking 3 or 4 times. Her immune panel showed severely suppressed natural killer cell activity. We built a sleep recalibration protocol together. Consistent 10 p.m. bedtime, total darkness, room temperature dropped to 67 degrees, all screens off 90 minutes before bed, and a small glass of tart cherry juice at 8 p.m. for its natural melatonin precursors. Within 6 weeks, she was consistently sleeping 7.5 hours. At her 3-month follow-up, her natural killer cell count had increased by 44%. Those 3 precancerous growths, at her next colonoscopy, gone. Her oncologist used the word remarkable. Patricia told me she hadn't slept that well since her 50s. The research is unambiguous. Adults over 60 who consistently sleep 7 to 8.5 hours per night in dark, cool environments have cancer mortality rates up to 48% lower than those sleeping under 6 hours, according to a 20-year cohort study from the University of California, San Diego. This is not a minor variable. This is the master switch. Here are the non-negotiable rules for cancer-protective sleep. Set a consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm does not take days off. Make your room completely dark. Even small amounts of light suppress melatonin. Cool your room to 65 to 68 degrees. Stop eating at least 3 hours before bed. Digestion competes with the cellular repair your body needs to run overnight. And all screens off 90 minutes before sleep. Combine sleep optimization with daily morning sunlight exposure from Habit 3. Morning light anchors your circadian rhythm and directly increases your evening melatonin output. Together, they create a biological environment where cancer struggles to gain a foothold. Every study I reference today is linked in the description. Read them, share them with your doctor. Ask the questions your 15-minute appointments don't leave time for. Here's what I want you to take from this. You are not too old for prevention. The science has no age limit. Whether you're 52 or 82, whether you've had a cancer scare or never given it a thought, your body retains a remarkable capacity to defend itself when you give it what it needs. These 5 habits, morning hydration, daily fermented foods, metabolic walking, EGCG-rich green tea, and deep restorative sleep, are not exotic protocols. They are the conditions your biology was designed to thrive under. They cost almost nothing. They need no prescription. And every single morning, you get a fresh chance to begin. If this video helped you, subscribe and share it with someone you care about. Every week we go this deep.